Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's Tuesday, and so we're going to do a Rashi from the third aliyah of this week's parsha. We're going to pick up exactly where we left off yesterday, talking a little bit about the story of Yitzchak's descent into Gerar, which is the end of the second aliyah. We ended off by talking about this beautiful pasuk, Vayizra Yitzchak ba'aretz hahi, vayimtza b'shana hahi, mea sharim vayavarcheu Hashem. The great bracha that comes to Yitzchak, the great productivity that comes to Yitzchak, despite the land being not the best, despite the year not being the best, is met with so much bracha. Despite everything, he's able to be tremendously successful. And that transitions right to our aliyah. Vayigdal ha'ish, he becomes very great. And we all know what happens when Jewish people become great in the lands that are foreign to them. We start to get in trouble with the local population. People become jealous, people become envious, that envy turns to anger, that anger turns to expulsion, and we're on the move again. Navanad, the history of the Jewish people, and it was no different here for Yitzchak. They had a great relationship. Of course, Avimelech already had a relationship with Avram Avinu. The kings of that area had a relationship with Avram Avinu, and now with Yitzchak, they had a great relationship after the whole incident with Yitzchak coming down and pretending about Rivka. Avimelech really takes him under his wing, and he is able to achieve great bracha in the land. Vayigdal ha'ish, he becomes great, and then what happens is Vayikanu oso plishtim. They start to become jealous, and that jealousy leads to his expulsion. Vayomer Avimelech Yitzchak lech mi'imanu ki atzamta mimenu me'od. Leave us because you're too great, you're too strong, you're a threat to us locally. And therefore, Yitzchak leaves. Vayelech misham Yitzchak, vayichan benachal Gerar, vayeshev sham. Yitzchak leaves Gerar, the city of Gerar, and goes in to dwell the area of Nachal Gerar, the wadi, the river, the valley outside of Gerar. And that seems to be two distinct separate areas. Now, I want to present you with the next pasuk and the Rashi on that pasuk. And unfortunately, I'm going to leave you today with a question. It's a question dealt with extensively in the Mefarshim, probably beyond the scope of this 5 or 10 minute share. But I want to leave you with the question. At least you'll be able to think about it as you read these psukim. These are very complicated psukim. And there's one thing that trips Rashi up, which he gives an interpretation for, but I'm not sure how it fits into the context of the psukim. And therefore, I'll leave it with you as a question. But here, let me present the question to you. Right, so just looking back a little bit, after it tells us Vayigdal ha'ish vayelech, he becomes very great. He has miknet, son, bakar. He has a lot of property. Vayikanu so plishtim. They become jealous of him. The Torah tells us a small tidbit. V'chol habe'eros asher chafru avdei aviv v'yemei Avraham aviv sitmum plishtim vayamalum afar. We learn earlier on this story, after we learn about his greatness, that all the wells that the servants of his father in the days of Avram had dug when Avram was in Gerar in order to provide water for himself and his flocks and the people of the area, in order to provide life and sustenance to the people of the area, Yisitmum Plishtim Vaymulam Afar. The Plishtim, the locals in that area, when Avram left, filled in all those wells with earth and covered them up. So they were no longer useful. And we can get into a whole discussion of why the Plishtim did that, what they were trying to assert in doing that. But of course, you understand that water in this region is critically important and it's a sign of power. And perhaps the Plishtim were exerting their power over Abraham by filling in the wells, almost saying, get out of here, you've left, you've gone, this is our turf once again. We learned that detail before. Now the Torah comes back and says, Yitzchak, get out of here, Avimelech says. Lech mi'imanu ki atzamta mimenu me'od. You're too strong for us. And he goes, Vayelech misham. He leaves Gerar. And he goes and dwells in Nachal Gerar. Now listen to this pasuk. Pasuk now says, Vayashav Yitzchak. Yitzchak returns. Vayachpor es be'eros hamayim asher chafru b'yimei Avraham. He returns to dig up the wells that were dug in the days of Avram Aviv, Vayisatmum Plishtim, the ones the Plishtim had covered over and filled in. Acharemos Avraham, after Avram had died. Vayikra lahem shemos kashemos asher kara lahem Aviv. And he redigs those wells and he calls them names just like the names that his father had given to those wells. Then the pasuk says, Vayachperu avdei Yitzchak benachal, vayimtzu sham be'er mayim chayim. The servants of Yitzchak dig in the Nachal, in the wadi where they find themselves, and there they find a Be'er Mayim Chaim, wellspring of life, of water. Now, the strange word in this pasuk is Vayashav Yitzchak. Yitzchak returns, right? If you understand the sequence of events, Yitzchak finds himself in Gerar proper. He gets great wealth in Gerar. The Torah tells us the wells that his father had once dug there. Avram was not in Nachal Gerar. Avram was in Gerar itself, just like Yitzchak was in Gerar itself. The wells that he dug were filled in by the Plishtim. Now the Torah goes on to tell us Yitzchak was kicked out. He goes outside of Gerar to dwell in Nachal Gerar. Vayashav Yitzchak. Yitzchak returns to dig the wells that his father had dug in his days that were filled in by the Plishtim, and he called them by the same name. And then they dug in Nachal Gerar and found the Be'er Mayim Chaim. So Rashi says here, Vayashav, to return, sounds like Kodem Shenasa Yitzchak Migrar Chazar Vechafru. It sounds from the word Vayashav that before he left Gerar to go to Nachal Gerar, he redug the wells that his father had dug that were filled in by the Plishtim, and then he leaves. And then, the Pasuk tells us, when they reach Nachal Gerar, they dig again and find Be'er Mayim Chaim, right? If you don't say Vayashav here is the return to Gerar proper, well, we see Yitzchak already left Gerar, so why would it make sense without that Vayashav being he returns to Gerar proper? How would it make sense that he dug up the wells of Avram? The wells of Avram were back there in Gerar. So Vayashav has to be he returned back there to Gerar. Furthermore, if Vayashav doesn't mean he returned to Gerar, then it means that in Nachal Gerar he's digging wells, and Avram didn't dig wells there. So what is he digging up? And furthermore, third point, if Vayashav doesn't mean he returned to Gerar to dig up those wells, then he dug the wells of Avram here, and then why does the Torah tell us again? He dug in Nachal Gerar and found Be'er Mayim Chaim. Aren't those the wells of Pasuk Yudchet? So there's a threefold reason why Rashi interprets Vayashav as Kodem Shenasa Yitzchak Migrar, that he must have gone back as he was being kicked out. He must have gone back, redug them, and then left Gerar. Rashi fits very well with the textual, evolution over here of the Psukim. And Rashi is forced to say Vayashav means before he left Gerar, he goes back to redig the wells and then leave because of the three questions I just raised, the 3 points I just raised. So it all makes sense that he says that, but at the end of the day, it leaves us with a couple of very big questions. Number one, why does he go back to do it as he's being kicked out? He spent all this time in Gerar. Things were going really well for him. Wouldn't have that been the opportune moment for him to redig those wells of Avram? Why does he wait till he's being kicked out? He's almost gone already, Vayashav, and he goes back to redig them. Furthermore, if he didn't do it all this time, and now he's being kicked out, and he's about to dig new wells in Nachal Gerar, so why does he go back to redig them, right? Question A, why didn't he dig them all along? And question number 2, why does he need them now? He's leaving. He's going to dig new wells in Nachal Gerar. Why does he go back to redig them? What is the symbolism of the digging up of these wells, and why is the timing here so important? But Yitzchak leaves it to the last moment, goes back, and then leaves to dig new wells in his next destination called Nachal Gerar. I'll leave you to think about some of those questions and complexities of this text as you go on with your day. I wish you a wonderful one and a Chodesh Tov.